Welcome to the channel, friends. It began with something so ordinary, so insignificant, that I didn't even notice the ripple it created at first. Looking back now, it's strange to think how small moments, the kind you almost overlook, can mark the beginning of a shift, one that quietly rearranges the rhythm of life. It was a slow, quiet afternoon. The kind of day where the minutes blend together without much to distinguish them. The house hummed with its usual background sounds, the low spin of the washing machine, the muffled tick of the wall clock, and the occasional creak of the wooden floorboards as I moved about. I sat on the couch, with a basket of freshly dried laundry beside me, folding each item with the sort of absent-minded care that comes from years of repetition. Towels, shirts, socks, it was just another chore in a string of endless little tasks that built the framework of our days. I was halfway through pairing socks when I heard his voice. "Lorraine, could you come here for a minute?" I froze for the briefest second, the sound of his voice cutting through the stillness. It wasn't urgent, but there was something in the tone, low, hesitant, that caught my attention. I set the socks aside and turned. Jake stood in the hallway, at the foot of the stairs. His hands fumbled awkwardly at his waist where his belt had twisted in a strange way. His shorts, a little too loose, hung unevenly, and his brow was furrowed with frustration. "Got it stuck or something," he muttered, tugging at the leather strap as if sheer force might solve the problem. There was something about the look in his eyes, part frustration, part plea, that made me put the folded towel down without another thought. "Sure," I said softly. "I'll help." As I walked toward him, I noticed the stiffness in his posture, the way his hands hovered near the belt, but never quite touched it, as if he wasn't sure what to do anymore. The air felt strangely charged, though I couldn't explain why. I reached out, my fingers brushing against the worn leather as I tried to work the buckle free. His breathing, heavier than usual, filled the silence between us. I focused on the task, murmuring, "Just a second, it's caught." Then, with a sudden pull, the buckle snapped loose. For a moment, time seemed to pause. The sound of the washing machine in the background, the creak of the floor, even my own breath, all of it faded as the silence between us grew thick. Jake's face flushed slightly as he shifted quickly, adjusting his clothes with a nervous energy. Sorry," he stammered, avoiding my gaze. His hands moved too quickly, almost frantic, as if trying to erase the awkwardness of the moment. I stepped back, heat rising in my cheeks. "It's fine," I whispered, though my voice betrayed a slight tremor. He muttered a quick thanks and hurried upstairs, his footsteps uneven, rushed. The sound echoed in the empty hallway, leaving me standing there with an unfamiliar weight pressing down on my chest. I couldn't explain it, but something had changed. From that afternoon on, the air between us was different. It wasn't anything obvious, nothing spoken outright, but there was a subtle shift, like the delicate balance of a thread stretched too tightly. The ease we once had in our conversations gave way to silence that felt just a little too heavy. I caught him glancing at me sometimes, only for him to look away quickly, as though caught in something he shouldn't admit. And I did the same. The rhythm of our days, once simple and unremarkable, was suddenly lined with an invisible tension. A week passed before either of us spoke about it. During that time, life carried on in its ordinary ways. I folded laundry, cooked dinners, scrolled absent-mindedly through my phone in the evenings. Jake went about his routines, working late in his office, watching television, occasionally making small talk. But beneath it all, there was a silence neither of us could ignore. It was a quiet afternoon, when he finally broke it. I was curled on the couch with a book when I heard his voice from the doorway. "Lorraine." My heart skipped at the sound, soft but weighted. I looked up to see him standing there, hands stuffed into his pockets, his shoulders drawn, but not tense in the usual way, more hesitant, more uncertain. "Yes?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. He shifted, his eyes flicking briefly to mine before darting away. "I think we need to talk about the other day." I set the book aside slowly, my stomach tightening. This was the conversation we had both been circling around, the one hanging in the silence between us for days. Okay, I said quietly. Jake drew in a deep breath, gathering his thoughts before meeting my gaze. I don't know exactly how to explain it. But things feel different now. After what happened. The words lingered, heavy. I nodded, my throat tightening. I feel it too. The space between us seemed to shrink. The room felt smaller, the walls closer, the silence more pressing. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, he broke it. I didn't mean for it to get weird. It was just something small, but now everything feels different. I let out a slow breath. Neither do I. But maybe it's not something we need to fix right away. Maybe we just need time. Jake's shoulders relaxed a fraction. Yeah, maybe you're right. I just don't want things to stay like this. I want us to be okay. Something softened inside me then. Maybe this was what we both needed, to stop trying to force a resolution, and instead give ourselves space, and for the first time in days, the silence that followed didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a step forward. The days that followed grew lighter. The tension didn't vanish overnight, but the sharp edges dull. Led. We went about our routines with a little more ease, speaking in softer tones, sharing small moments again, without the same weight pressing down. One evening, Jake appeared in the kitchen doorway with a tentative smile. Hey, he said, voice casual, but edged with something deeper. Hey, I replied, glancing up from my phone. I was thinking, he continued, maybe we could go out this weekend. Just to get out of the house. What do you think? The suggestion caught me off guard. It wasn't like him to initiate something like this, especially not lately. Sure, I said, surprised by the lightness in my own voice. I think we could both use a change of scenery. His smile widened slightly. Great. It's a plan, then. The way he said it, gentle, hopeful, felt like a thread of normalcy weaving its way back into place. That weekend, we went for a walk in the park. The air was cool, the sun dipping lower in the sky as we strolled side by side. At first, the conversation was hesitant, filled with small talk about the weather, the trees, the people passing by. But as we walked, the words flowed more easily, laughter slipping in like an old friend. We sat on a bench watching the sunset, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe freely. I'm glad we did this, Jake said softly, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Me too, I replied, meaning it. The silence that followed wasn't heavy, it was comfortable, like a quiet reassurance. Over the next few weeks, we continued this slow rebuilding. Dinners shared, movies watched, casual conversations by the coffee machine in the morning. The weight of that one awkward moment began to fade, replaced by something steadier, something that felt like rediscovery. Jake's smiles became easier, his laughter more genuine. The house no longer felt divided by silence, but filled again with the small, unspoken comforts of daily life. And while we never fully erased the memory of that afternoon, the belt, the hesitation, the awkward silence, we no longer let it define us. It became simply a moment in time, a turning point that reminded us how fragile and precious connection can be. I don't know where the path will lead us. Maybe forward into something stronger, maybe just into the familiar rhythms we had once known. But what I do know is this: not everything needs fixing. Sometimes, what we need most is patience, space, and the willingness to let things unfold in their own time, and for now, that is enough.